Okay, so welcome back to my new video. So if you have watched all the previous videos, we're talking about assistants, we were talking about thread and all of the user and all of the runs and all of that. So this is what the whole OpenAI assistant API looks like. So on your far left, you can see that we're using GPT-4.1106 preview, which is the model. And then you remember we created a bank data set, which is a .json file, and then we uploaded it. Once you upload it to the assistant, it's going to create a list of file IDs, which is going to be stored in a vector database. We don't need a vector database and all of that. So these files will be stored over there and used to augment the OpenAI. And then you also remember that we were putting some instructions like, or you are a personal data assistant, or you are a customer service assistant for Bank of America and all of that. And the tools that we're looking at is for retrieval, code interpreter, and then function calling. Okay, so whenever we create our assistant, we give it a name. It could be a legal chatbot. In our case, we use a customer service assistant, and then we can give it a description. So in this case, you can see that it's a chatbot that can answer questions about Hong Kong stock exchange listing rules. And then once you create the assistant, it's going to create assistant ID. And then also the user on the far right is going to create a message, and that message is going to be put on the thread. And once the message is put on the thread, it's going to generate a thread ID. So combining the thread ID and then assistant ID, that is what is going to help us run the assistant. So the assistant is going to be run here, and then we'll be monitoring the status of the run until completion. Okay, so once there's a completion, we add assistant messages. Assistant message is now added to the thread back. It's added back from here to the thread, and then that thread will be retrieved, and then the output will be given to the user. So this is the whole pipeline that we've been looking at all this while. So it's very straightforward. We combine the assistant ID with the thread ID to run the assistant. We keep monitoring to completion, and then we add the results back to the thread, and then the user can then receive or retrieve the output. And this process can continue. The user can keep creating follow-up messages, and then the assistant will combine the ID and then keep in that loop until the loop terminates. Okay, so this is the whole. So here we don't need any embedding of our files. We don't need to embed the files. We don't also need a vector database to store all the vectors before we query the vector database for similarities. Okay, so this is taking all the various steps that you would do when you want to apply langchain or llama index to your vector database and stuff like that. We don't need all of this. So all the process has been combined into these 4 separate engines, I would say. So basically, this is all I want to share with you on how the OpenAI Assistant API works. Okay, so to start, we are going to create a data analyst assistant or chatbot, and I'm going to use the util function here. I think we'll need exactly the same thing, so we don't need to change this. Once you go to my GitHub repo, you should see this file in there. If you don't see it, I should put it in one single file, so you can look for it also there. So now I'm going to create a new file called GPT, then call it assistant, and then I can call it data analyst -YT. Okay. So I'm going to import from that utils, import assistant manager, and then also from .env import load. Then we're going to load that. Once we do that, we can create our main function. And then we pass in API key is equal to os.get. Then from here, we're going to call the manager is equal to assistant manager. And then we pass in the API key. Now we want to create a file for our, so here, where is it? So now we want to create a list of files or files for our assistant. So that is where we are. So we're going to say dot create file. Okay, so I think I don't have the create file in this one, this util. So I'm just going to add it to the utils. I want to put it here. So we want to create a file for our assistant. So this is how you go about it. Once I do that, I can say create file. And then I have a file called song or CSV. Okay, songs.csv. And this file, when I open it, this file has an artist, the rating, and then the track. Okay, so I'm going to ask questions about this CSV file. Okay, so that is all. The next thing we want to do is to create an assistant. Okay, so I'm going to just paste in the code so that we don't take too much time. So once we create an assistant, so here, this is where we are now. We are creating an assistant. Okay, so we give it a name and then a description and all of that. So here, let me see, create an assistant. So the assistant also takes a description. Okay, so I can give it another option called okay, let me put it here first. Let me put a description here. Description. Description is you are a personal data analyst assistant to help analyze data. Okay, so that is all. That is all we need here. Okay. And then once I create assistant, the one that we are going to use is we could also use the retrieval or the code interpreter. So I'm just going to use retrieval. And then now we can create a thread. So manager dot create underscore thread. Okay, so we are not going to pass anything in there. And the rest, I'm just going to paste the rest of the code in there. And then I'm going to close it and then explain it. Okay, so as we added the create thread, we need to add the messages to the thread. So if you look at the diagram, we need to add the messages to the thread, this thread from the user, add the messages to the thread from the user, okay? And then here we'll need to run the assistant, okay? So that's where we need to add a thread and then the thread ID as well as the assistant ID, followed by the instructions, okay? So before that, we add these two and then run the assistant. And then we are asking what are the most popular tracks and their artists. Okay, that's the question we want to add. We want to add as the instruction. And also add messaging to the thread. What are the most popular tracks and their artists? Okay, so that is what we are asking. And then we wait for completion. Okay, so once we wait for completion, that is where this messages, we wait for this completion here, and then the messages will be sent back to the thread, and then now this can be retrieved and output back to the user. Okay, so that is the flow. Okay, so that is the flow here. So now we are done. All we need to do is to run our code. Okay, it's waiting for assistant to process. Okay, so now it seems that there are no documents uploaded to this conversation for me to browse to find it. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so it didn't find it. So it gave us a garbage. So what the trick I can do is to change this to code interpreter. Okay, so let's do that and see the results that we are going to get, because we need this file created for us. Okay, we need our file created for us. Yeah, so let me run it again and see what we get. I think it's still making, I can't access real-time data from the internet. So I'm not too sure why it's behaving this way. So okay, so the reason why it's not working is because we did not add the file IDs. Okay, so here we have file IDs. Then we need to add self.file ID. Okay, so we need to add the file IDs. So as you can see here, we need to add the file IDs to the assistant. Okay, we did not do that. We missed that. Okay, that's why we're not getting it. So let me put back the retrieval and yeah, so that is all. So all we needed to do is to add the file IDs back to the back to the assistant. The file IDs are coming from here. Okay, create file. Okay, so that is what is happening. So let's rerun again and see if we're going to get some results. Okay, so I think Retrieval doesn't support CSV. So I'm going to use the code interpreter as the trick, interpreter as the trick. So let's run again. So yeah, so it's running using it's in progress, and it's using the code interpreter. So let's wait for it. It's still running. Okay, so I think it's done. Let me see what happened. Let's see. Okay, so you can see that here is the list of the most popular tracks sorted by their rating along with their artists. Okay, so if you look at the first one, it has the highest rating, which is 4.8. So if we open that file again, where is it? You can see that the 4.8 is the highest, which is this artist. Okay, followed by 4.7, which is Billy. 4.7, bad guy, this one. Okay, so it was able to sort the data according to the question that we asked, and then it was able to sort it according to their ratings. Okay, so if we even ask what is the average rating, okay, so let's ask that question. So we want to ask the question. What is the average ratings? Okay, so that is the question we want to ask. So let's see if it can average all the ratings. So let's wait for it. It's still going to go out to do its thing. So let's be patient. So as you can see, it's done. So it says we asked the question, what is the average rating? It said the average rating based on the data provided in the file is 4.35. The file appears to be a CSV file format with 3-column artist ratings and then the top track. And it went on to say, to calculate the average rating, I will read the rating column from the file and compute its average. Let's proceed with this calculation. Okay, so you can see that that is what it did, and then it got it right. So if we take the average of all these values, we should get 4.35 ratings. Okay, so yeah, the assistant was able to do a good job. As soon as we feed the assistant with this CSV file, it was able to do the calculation for us. So yeah, it looks very nice and interesting. So if you like this video, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe so that it can help me do more videos of this type. I'll see you in the next one.